Hey, everybody. Today is so special to me. This unit of study is my favorite, the soul signature. And I have seen some of the most profound things come out of this space. This is really what differentiates, I feel like, each of us. We've all been told that we have, and this is not political, but a snowflake effect. And what that means is each one of us is so freaking unique. So unique. But it's our uniqueness that often has us comparing ourselves to other people because we make these clear assumptions that someone else must have better luck or better ideals or just have been born under the right star. What you may have noticed at this point, even just from our previous week in stage one, when we went over numerology, you got really one of the first layers of truth set upon you about what this is going to feel like to be uniquely you. And the more that this gets impressed, the more that you understand your particular soul signature, the less you will compare yourself to anybody else. This version of the soul signature, what we're going to talk about today, is actually the blueprint with which you rode in here with, the blueprint with which you showed up. There are certain facts about your life that we can't change. And the astrologist and the psychic and the Chinese face reader are all going to tell you similar things. The numerology about you, it's all going to tell you certain things about you. But today we're talking about the soul signatures blueprint. We're going to talk about your family. We're going to talk about the influences that you've had in your life and how those imprinted on you. I'm going to start with a little story because this illuminates sort of what is true in all of us and how we begin to use our intuition as well for the people around us. Because as we are clear about who we are, as we get clear about our personal soul signature, we must also get really clear, you guys, especially for those of you who work one-to-one with people, that every single person you work with has a soul signature, has a blueprint. They too have a numerology. They too have their own blueprint of astrology. They too have all their own unique pieces. And if we can courageously and empathetically find a way to love them, find a way to see them, then we can also find a way to empathically love ourselves and see ourselves. So, years ago, as I was just starting out as a hairdresser, probably one of my first real psychic hits as well, I had this client. She'd been on my books for a while, and I saw that she was coming in, and everything inside of me wanted to leap out of my skin and just be done with her. She was what I call a soul sucker. And over the years, I've had many soul sucking clients, as I'm sure some of you can relate to as well, where we compromise who we are and allow them to come in for money. So in this case, I had this woman coming in, and this is the kind of person when you say, the sky is blue and isn't it beautiful out? She's like, it's fucking windy and I fucking hate it. Like just a miserable person. Nothing made her happy. She loved to talk about how amazing she was in her business and her life. She had that very narcissistic, sociopathic tendency about her. So as she was coming in, I noticed my energy just going and just wanting to not be there for it. When I heard a voice come in, and this voice was the beginning of this sort of soul signature idea. The voice said to me very clearly, what if she's just like you? And of course, my defense to that, what if she's just like you voice, wherever that came from, was like, fuck you, I'm not like her. I'm a nice person. I'm a really good person. I don't have any of those tendencies. I'm not mean. I'm not trying to hurt people or victimize them or make them feel inferior. I'm not that kind of person. And the voice came in again. And the voice said very clearly to me, what if you're just like her? But this time it went further. And it said, Look at what you have in common. What if she's insecure, just like you? What if she's afraid, just like you? What if she is wanting desperately to be seen and recognized for her true greatness, not the facade she's putting on, but the truth inside of her? What if she wants to be seen? And what if her ultimate desire is to be loved? Well, I'm not going to lie. Kind of blew my pants off, you guys. Kind of blew my pants off that this person might be just like me. Because in truth, each of us is just a little insecure, maybe a lot, is just a little scared, sometimes a lot. But one thing is true. Two things are really true for all of us. We want people to see our true essence. We want them to know who we are, really. Like, again, back to our original video here. We want them to know the recesses. We want them to know who we are in the moments, the fragments when no one's looking and no one's asking anything of us. And we don't have to put on makeup, and we don't have to put on a facade, and we don't have to get dressed, and we don't have to be this person in the world. We all want to be seen and recognized for what is really true for us. We want them to see our spirit. We want them to know us the way that we truly know ourselves secretly inside. And at the end of the day, the fear and the insecurity have one link. Each of us, every one of us, is looking to be loved. And the thing that scares us and the thing that makes us insecure is what if? What if they don't like us? What if we're not good enough? What if they find out we're fraud? We all want to be loved. It's just some of us show up differently, right? Some of us show up in this more like tone of my client, kind of an asshole, really hard to see behind that really awful facade. But her facade, her defense mechanism that made her the way she was, came as a result of the things that happened in her life. Those are the pieces of her soul signature. When I showed up to that client next, when I arrived to that appointment with this voice in my head, with this idea and this notion that maybe she didn't suck. Maybe she wasn't an evil person. Maybe she wasn't Cruella de Vil. Maybe she had something to offer us. When I showed up and I beamed love to her, and I began to research versus react, when I began to peel away those layers of defense and find the love and witness her as she is, and really start looking for the spirit in her, the relationship shifted. It was not overnight, took some time, but the goal worked. And as a result of that, it's interesting, just reflecting on this for a moment, what's interesting is I no longer see anybody but for their spirit. And I'll be clear also there are coping skills and people that I'm very clear I no longer energetically want to participate. But it's largely because I graduated, as far as I'm concerned. The obligation to serve in certain capacities is no longer there because I'm very clear the lesson of it is over. So the obligation is over as well. You might want to write that down. When the lesson is over, the obligation is as well. So I no longer feel the need to serve people I don't like or don't understand. I see the spirit in them, and that is good. Amen. Done. Check. So let's get to where you matter on this. And this is the soul signature. There will be a little bit of a workbook with this, so you'll notice below that there's going to be the word document that you've seen below every video. This one's going to have a few more Q&As on it, a few more opportunities to really feel into this. And you're going to really spend some time essentially on your family tree and where you came from and the experiences that you've had in your life up until now. Because each of them make us who we are. It's interesting, the picture that's coming to my mind right now is sort of, if you imagine how a stone has become a stone or a mountain has become a mountain, and how between the wind and the rain and the weather and the conditions, it's eroded over time to make itself look the way that it does. That's exactly the impact that has happened to us. We're like Play-Doh, essentially. We come out as these screaming blobs. And when we walk out of our lives, yes, we're in the human format, but the emotional wherewithal of who we actually are has been dented and dung and bumped around. And so that we have certain defense mechanisms already playing in our system. But what we forgot is to have empathy for these defense mechanisms and empathy for the people who brought them to us, because we have decided in many cases that the people who brought us these dents have in some way perpetrated us, or have some way not loved us, or have in some way not cared for us. And what I want you guys to get clear about is that those who hurt us, or those who impacted us in ways that don't feel good, have their own soul signature as well. That each of us are products of the environment with which we came. And I know you could see a therapist, and a therapist would say the same thing, but I want you to see this from an intuitive perspective. What it is like to intuitively walk out of this and see the spirit of another versus the perpetrator. And that's what we're going to work on here today. So, first and foremost, on your birthday, the day you were brought into the world, you were brought in as one thing. Spirit, intuition, higher self. That's who rolled in on your birthday. She or he who rolls in on their birthday is just one thing, and that is spirit, ready to be made into person, ready to be pliably conditioned and indoctrinated and trained into person, because we are spirits here for the human experience. So everything that we've signed up for is pretty clear. Like, there is a pretty clear 3D imagery before we get here of what's going to happen. And you'll notice that every time you have a deja vu, that you are experiencing things that you signed up for. Those little deja vus are like, yeah, I'm right where I'm supposed to be, for better or for worse. I'm where I need to be. But we start with this namaste idea on your birthday. And that spirit, that truth, that essence, that higher self doesn't go away, just changes form. It just gets hidden sometimes, blocked by all these defense mechanisms and coping skills. So for the sake of today, you should just let your eyes rest a bit, and we bow here. We bow here to namaste. We bow to the light. And from me to you, I bow to the light in you. I bow to the God in you. I bow to the spirit in you. I bow to your intuition and your soul. And take another moment here for yourself and look and source the light in you. Bow to the brightness. Bow to the God inside of you. Bow to your intuition and your soul and your higher self. And let her come forward. Each of us has the light of God inside of us, the light of the universe and source inside of us. And so through this process, we continue to unravel and unwrap the light so that we may bow to ourselves and others as such. So that as you begin to bring in clients or sales or customers, you know how to see with the eyes of love, through the eyes of God, not the religious God, the spirit God, and see people for the love, recognize them for who they are as the spirit and the light in between, okay? As such, in being born on your day, as you're learning throughout, you have been given a blueprint, an astrological blueprint, a numerology that is your soul signature. But what doesn't often come out are the specific bumps and bruises that happen along the way. What you might be guided to understand in this particular lesson is how those things were interpreted by your soul. Now, if you are a twin or you've met twins before, both were born on the same exact day, generally minutes apart. And yet their astrological reading will be completely different from each other's. Completely different. But as well, you'll notice that their stories are also uniquely different. They were born to the same parents, same experience, and yet that same experience growing up, one is going to have a very uniquely distinct difference in what that life looked like compared to the other. So if you can put that in with yourself, what we're looking at is your interpretation of the truth. It's rare that I talk about my sister, but my sister and I grew up in a hippie household. Same fucking parents, same goddamn life, same opportunity or lack thereof. But my God, is her story of where we grew up and how we came to the world so fucking different than mine. So different. Night and day. And where she ended up on the trajectory of life and where I ended up on trajectory of life, different. The impact for both of us was ultimately the same. Our parents' soul signature, their personal soul signature didn't change per kid. It was the same. But her unique attunement to the interpretation is what's different. So this is what we're really going to get into today, is what your unique interpretation really feels like for you. So you'll have this workbook so that you'll have the opportunity to write this down. But this is what I want you to get out of this sort of next phase. What if the people who you feel harmed you, impacted you, challenged you, what if their only intention was to do their best? And maybe that was their version of love. Maybe the people around you right now, this is their only availability and statement to love. And that the thing that has to be looked at here is your interpretation of it. So I want you to dig back into the space of what is true. And you're going to do sort of a family tree, looking at mom's side and dad's side so that you can dig into how they became the people that they are today. And then dig into the space of how you became the person that you are today, so that you can see that you are distinctly made because of two fairly normally flawed humans, and that as a result, you too have some dings and dongs there, right? And how that all works out, and how now you impress on other people what you've learned, okay? The goal here is to begin to forgive the people who came before us, and begin to forgive even as far back as the ancestors. So as you do your parents' soul signature, you're going to notice that, then there's grandma, and then her mom. And if you keep going, you can see the ancestral pattern of how it has been brought all the way here to your life today. That is what created your personal soul signature. And that if we can begin to forgive we can actually begin to drop the facade. We can begin to drop some of the coping. We can begin to drop some of the defense mechanisms where you can arrive and show up in total pure love, forgiveness for how they got here, why they were the way they were. Now, I understand in a lot of cases there can be abuse and terrible, awful things, and that forgiveness word is awfully big. So that if we can just begin with the other word, which is recognition, recognize where they came from, and see if you can put a teeny bit of empathy on how they became the people that they are. And slowly over time, you may be able to unravel into forgiveness, and that's okay. It's okay if that's as far as you get. So you'll see that you'll have a little worksheet. I'm gonna have you guys fill that out and get to that place where you've worked through it enough, where you can suspend the disbelief. Because this is our ultimate goal. Once we've figured out your soul signature, the goal is to then suspend your own personal disbelief that you are actually completely perfect as you are today. That because of all the dings and all the dents and all the coping and all the defense and all the things that make you who you are today, it's actually still perfect, and it's been perfectly designed for you at this very moment in time. Take a deep breath here. And I want you to just think about 3 things. 1, what is the favorite thing about yourself? What is your most favorite thing about who you are? What is the number 1 thing that you want to pass on in the world? Like one distinct characteristic or one distinct thing about you. If you were to have kids or you were to impress somebody really a lot and share something that is yours with them, what would be that one thing you want to pass on in the world? And last, what is one lesson, one experience in your life that you feel right now committed to let go of? One experience that you could commit yourself to let go of. And I want you to then just go straight into this worksheet. And when you're done, email me the worksheet if you feel ready for that. If you feel like you want other eyeballs on that, we will do that. And then as soon as you're done, move on to the next video. Thanks, you guys.